They said life slows down after 70. But they never warned us about how loud the silence can become. They didn't mention the friendships that fade, or the memories that haunt you when the world finally gets quiet. This video is for those still fighting to find meaning, after everyone else thinks your story is over. Welcome to Elderly Wise Minds, a space for the late bloomers. For the ones starting over after retirement, after loss, after heartbreak. If you're 60 and still figuring things out, or 75 and chasing a dream, you belong here. Let's talk about the truths no one warned us about, and why there's still beauty in the becoming. 1. Friendships fade, and that's okay. You ever notice how quiet life gets after retirement? Not just the noise of alarm clocks or meetings, but the kind of quiet that creeps in when people stop calling, when invitations slow down, and familiar faces fade into the rear view. Maybe it's because we moved away, or they did. Maybe illness or distance made the gap wider than we ever expected. But suddenly, the circle we thought was unbreakable feels a little emptier. Let me tell you about John. He was the kind of guy everyone at work loved. Always first to the coffee pot, telling stories, laughing louder than anyone else in the room. 40 years of friendships built around shared routines, holiday parties, office gossip. Then retirement came. At first, it felt like freedom, no more meetings, no more deadlines. But slowly, the calls started coming less often. The coworkers he thought were close, turns out many of them were just coworkers. And now, most afternoons, John sits by the window watching the mailman pass by, sometimes wondering when the last time was that someone dropped in just to say hello. You ever felt that way? Because if you have, you're not alone. And you're not wrong to feel the sting of it. Loneliness can be heavy. It doesn't matter if you're 30 or 80. When people disappear from your life, it leaves a mark. And society doesn't always talk about it. We focus on physical health, on finances, but not often on what it feels like when you go days without someone genuinely checking in. It's okay to miss people. It's okay to feel abandoned. Those feelings are valid. They mean you care. But here's the thing, fading friendships aren't the end of your story. They're a pause, a turning point, and sometimes a necessary clearing of space for new connection. Yes, even now. Especially now. Because what if you joined that local walking group you keep seeing flyers for? What if you volunteered just once a week at a library, at a shelter, with children or animals? You never know who's sitting across from you also craving connection. Even online, in forums or Zoom meetups, people are building new bonds every day. You're not too late. You're not too old. And you're definitely not alone. So tell me, when was the last time you made a new friend? 2. The body becomes the battle. Let's be honest for a second, aging doesn't just touch your spirit or your schedule. It touches your body. Every part of it. The mornings feel heavier. The joints don't bend quite the way they used to. There's a new pill added to the tray every few months. And some days, even getting out of bed feels like a full workout. Maybe you feel it in your knees when the weather shifts. Or in your back when you've been sitting too long. Or in the way you get tired faster than you used to, not sleepy tired, but soul tired, body tired. The kind of fatigue that doesn't always have a name but demands rest anyway. And nobody really prepares you for it, do they? I want you to meet Helen. Or maybe you already know someone like her. Maybe you are her. Helen was 74 the last time we talked. She used to dance every weekend, ballroom, swing, even a little salsa when she felt bold. Her husband, Ron, would always laugh and say that woman's feet never touched the ground. Then the arthritis started creeping in. First, it was her fingers, then her hips. One day she told me, "I used to skip upstairs. Now they look like mountains." And it broke her heart. Not just the pain, but what it felt like to watch the world move while her body made her pause. And maybe you felt that too. The grief of a body that once ran, lifted, hugged tight, now asking for gentleness, slowness, patience. But here's what Helen realized. Her body changed, yes, but she didn't disappear. Her worth didn't expire. Her joy wasn't canceled. You are still you, even if you walk slower, even if you need more naps, Even if your reflection has lines you don't recognize and scars that tell stories. You haven't been defeated, your body is just asking for a new kind of partnership. One built on listening instead of pushing, compassion instead of frustration. So here's what's helped people like Helen, and might help you too. Start small. Gentle movement in the morning. Even just 5 minutes of stretching by the bed. Adaptive yoga you can do sitting down. Swimming if your joints allow it. Resistance bands for light strength. Not to get your body back, but to love the one you're in right now. Be kind to it. Celebrate the things it still does, the breath it still takes, the hands that still hold, the eyes that still see beauty, even if a little blurrier now. You don't need to dance the way you used to. You just need to keep moving at your own rhythm. So, tell me, what part of your body have you been at war with lately? And what would it look like to make peace with it today? 3. The world moves on without you. Have you ever looked around and wondered, when did the world start spinning without me? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? One day you're raising kids, running meetings, keeping up with everything, and the next, it's like the world just forgot you were part of it. Technology moves so fast, culture shifts every second, and even the people closest to us, kids, grandkids, sometimes speak in a language that feels unfamiliar. Social media, video calls, online banking, QR codes, it all changes in the blink of an eye. And suddenly, you're not just catching up, you're being left behind. Let me tell you about David. He spent 40 years in education, a school principal, beloved by students and staff. He knew every child by name, gave advice like clockwork, and had a voice that could command a room without raising it. When he retired, he imagined days of peace, reading, gardening, maybe even learning the guitar. But reality hit harder than expected. The phone didn't ring much. His grandkids texted more than they talked. Even applying for things like health coverage or booking appointments became a maze of websites and passwords. He told me once, I spent my whole life helping others find their place. Now, I feel like I don't have one. And then he said something that stuck with me. It felt like I became a background character in my own life. That's the emotional peak, isn't it? That deep ache of invisibility. Of being in the room, but not really seen. Not because you have nothing to give, but because the world's too busy looking elsewhere. But here's the truth, and it's an empowering one. Your story doesn't end just because the chapter looks different. Yes, the world moves fast. But that doesn't mean you can't still walk with it at your pace. David, for example, started small. He took a free class at the library on using a tablet. He joined an online forum for educators, and before long, he was helping young teachers navigate their first year in classrooms. And guess what? His grandkids? They were amazed that Grandpa could send gifts and book video calls. Reconnection doesn't mean catching every trend. It means choosing what brings you joy and making it part of your world. Maybe it's learning just enough technology to FaceTime your family. Maybe it's writing your stories and sharing them with a local group. Maybe it's just embracing your rhythm in a world that rushes too fast anyway. You are not obsolete. You are not invisible. You are still becoming. So tell me, what's one thing you've been hesitant to learn or try because you thought it was too late? For regret can linger louder than joy. Have you noticed that when life finally slows down, when the noise fades and the calendar clears, the past starts to knock a little louder? Moments you thought you'd moved on from, memories you tucked away in some forgotten drawer of your heart. Suddenly they show up, uninvited. And regret can echo louder than joy if you let it. It's not always the big things either. Sometimes it's a phone call you never made, a dream you put off until it felt too late, a version of yourself you never fully became. And sometimes it's the hurt that lingers long after everyone else has forgotten. Mary is 78. She's warm, kind, one of those people whose smile makes you feel like the sun just came out. But she carries something heavy. When she was 43, her marriage ended, and even though it was the right decision, even though decades have passed, she still aches. She told me, I think I mourned what could have been longer than I ever celebrated what was. 35 years later, she still wonders, what if I had done things differently? What if I hadn't given up so soon? What if he had loved me better? Maybe you've asked those same questions about love, about family, about opportunities lost. And that's okay. It's human. Regret, grief, guilt, they're all part of the emotional landscape we walk through, especially when we finally have the space to look back. But here's something I want you to remember. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are not defined by what didn't happen. You are still worthy of joy, of peace, of healing, even now. Mary started journaling. Not fancy poetry, not anything polished. Just honest words on paper. Things she wished she'd said. Things she needed to hear. She forgave herself on those pages, one entry at a time. And eventually, she stopped writing about the past and started writing about now. Her garden, her new cat, the way the sunlight hit her window in the morning. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about releasing yourself from the weight of things you can no longer change. And peace is found not in rewriting the past, but in accepting that you still have this moment, and that matters. So tonight, maybe write something, even just a sentence. Tell yourself one kind thing you rarely say, and tell me in the comments. What's one piece of your past you're ready to make peace with, even if just a little? 5. You are still becoming, even now. Let's flip the script for a moment. We've talked about the hard truths, the tough stuff that aging brings. But here's something bold, something beautiful, that not enough people say out loud. You are still becoming. Even now, at 70, at 80, at 90, you are not done. They told us that growth was for the young. That adventure had an age limit. That reinvention had an expiration date. But they were wrong. Let me tell you about Ruth. She published her first book at 81. Her fingers ached when she typed. Her eyesight wasn't what it used to be, but she had stories inside her. Decades of love and heartbreak, triumph and loss, and she refused to leave them unwritten. When she held that first printed copy in her hands, she cried. Not because it was perfect, but because she did it. And she wasn't too late, she was right on time. Or Joseph, 76, when he found love again. He'd been widowed for over a decade. Told himself he'd already lived his one great romance. Then he met Grace, at a community choir of all places. She made him laugh. He made her tea. And just like that, two people who thought their story had settled found a brand new chapter. So maybe you're sitting there thinking, that's beautiful, but I missed my chance. No, you didn't, because here's the truth. If you woke up today, you haven't run out of time. You are not too old to paint, to fall in love, to forgive, to write letters, to learn how to use a camera, to sing in a choir, to start a YouTube channel, to tell your story, to live gently, loudly, or however the heck you want. You're allowed to begin again and again and again. So what if this season isn't about slowing down, but about blooming in a different way? Here's my question for you. If you truly believed it wasn't too late, what's one thing you'd try, even now? Drop it in the comments. Let's remind each other that becoming doesn't end. Not as long as we're still here. You've made it through so much. Decades of noise, of loss, of change, of holding it all together when no one saw how heavy it was. You've watched people come and go. You've been the steady one, the brave one, the quiet warrior. And yet, you're still here. That matters. That means something. There's a strength in that, in simply showing up for life again and again. Maybe the world doesn't see it, but I do. And I want you to see it, too. You're not too old to laugh until you cry. You're not too old to try something new. You're not too old to be seen, heard, and loved right now exactly as you are. You're not too old to bloom again. So, here's what I'd love for you to do. Subscribe to the channel and share. Leave a comment below. Tell me one thing you're proud of surviving, one joy you've rediscovered, or one hope you're still holding on to. Because the truth is, your story's not over. Not even close. And we're in this together. One beautiful breath at a time.